I'm introducing Nathan Parks. Nathan is the IT director at the Rogers County Sheriff's Office. He's also a reserve deputy, is that correct? Since 2010. He is trained in the following: cybercrime, cybersecurity, hacking, cell phone forensics, computer forensics, GPS tracking, social media investigations, open source intelligence, member of search and rescue. So I think we have a very experienced and knowledgeable individual here to present and answer any questions. He's also a regular guest host of KRMG's Geek Speak, and he's also been a guest speaker at the Oklahoma Private Investigators Association and has held women's classes on anti-digital stalking. So please, let's give a big round of applause for Mr. Nathan Parks.
Thank you. How are you guys this evening? Good. Good. I heard these seats are more expensive, and no, I'm just kidding. So, social media, right? Yeah? Really easy topic. Just avoid it. We can just go. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. So, a little about me. She kind of introduced quite a bit about me. My interest range from all kinds of things, but probably one of those things I'm most passionate about is open source intelligence and hacking. Now, open source intelligence is what can we learn about people or businesses in an open fashion. And what that means is this, is if there's a server out there like Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or anything like that, what type of information can we glean off of those sources so that we can investigate or chase something down or help find someone or help protect someone or something of that thing. So that's one of the things I'm most passionate about. So let me ask some questions about you, right? That's a little about me, some things that are interesting to me, but what about you? Now, as a parent, tell me if you can relate to any of this stuff. Guessing you have little ones that you send daily to bless these wonderful teachers and staff members here, right? Does that happen? You're like, hey, go bless your teachers today, right? Does that happen? Okay. Guessing you hear news about the digital media social world that's going on, and you've heard things on the news and you have questions about it, right? Can you relate to that? How many of you guys feel comfortable, like, hey, I got this social media stuff mastered, or do you have questions about that stuff? Raise your hand if you do. Like, do you have questions? Like, there are things on my mind that I'm concerned about as a parent, okay? You're probably fighting to keep your kids off their phones and tablets, computers. No relation to that, right? Does that happen? I didn't think so. You can't relate to hours of YouTube videos, right? How many of you have been in public and you've seen a child, whatever, and like, here, take this phone, watch this video, be quiet. Have you seen that? Has that happened? Okay, I thought this was just a rumor, but this may occur. Has anyone heard this phrase? Mom, Dad, what's the Wi-Fi password? Raise your hand if you've heard that. Okay, why does that question even exist? Are they wanting to watch Fox News? Wait, they're not? No, why? They want to play games, they want to do what? Social media. It's not for Fox News, it's not for CNN, it's not for anything. Maybe there's, yes, they want to do their schoolwork. Moms, Dad, raise your hand if you're completely convinced of that answer. I think the consensus is against that one. What's that? So, and no doubt you've thought about social media and been very frustrated, but you've also laughed at it and you've enjoyed it. And it's amazing that this thing, social media, never even existed a few years ago, right? How many of you guys can remember a time where none of this existed at all? Like nothing. There was no MySpace. I know you're like, what's MySpace? It's like, what? How many of you have never heard of MySpace? Raise your hands. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a good generation question for you guys. Okay, obviously Facebook has been around. The Facebook is kind of old news, right? No? No-ish? Yes? Yeah, see, there's some mixed generational stuff there. Has anyone heard of Instagram? Oh, I saw some hands pop up. Twitter, of course. What's interesting about Twitter is Twitter's really popular on the East Coast and West Coast, but not so much here. But Instagram now, wait a minute. Instagram is the one that seems like it's popping up everywhere, right? Okay, raise your hand if you have an Instagram account. Raise it higher. Come on now, be honest. Okay, now put your hands down. Raise your hand if you have 2 Instagram accounts. Moms, dads, pay attention to that right there. Oh, yeah, huh? Raise your hand if you have more than 1 email address. Raise your hand if you have more than 1 personal email address. Like, this is not work related, this is not school related. Like, hey, yeah, I wouldn't create another fake email address so I can create a fake Instagram account. Yeah, that doesn't happen, right? Okay. Oh yes, has anyone heard of Snapchat? Okay, raise your hand if you have Snapchat. Raise your hand if you love the update in Snapchat. Okay, yeah. Raise your hand if you want to burn Snapchat's building down because of the update in Snapchat. Okay, so how many of you have never heard of Snapchat? Anyone? Okay, moms, dads, here's what Snapchat is. It's a messaging app, right? The messages disappear, right? It also does photographs, also does video chatting, and it does these wonderful things called filters, right? Because we all have really rabbit ears and stuff, and that's very natural. Okay, so how many of you guys have heard of Kylie Jenner? Raise your hand if you've heard of her. So does anyone know what Kylie Jenner does for a job? Does she have a job? Okay, so Snapchat some time ago went IPO, which means initial public offering, right? They became a publicly traded company, right? So here I am, the CEO of Snapchat, and we go public, and guess what I just became instantly that day? A gazillionaire. Like, I am so wealthy, it's not even funny, right? Okay, last week, Kylie Jenner comes out after this update to Snapchat, and she makes a statement on Twitter. Does anybody know what that statement was? This is what she said. I want to quote this to you. I'm not going to do a great impersonation of a 20-year-old girl here, so bear with me. But it's basically, does anyone even open Snapchat anymore? And guess what happened to Snapchat's stock that day? Plummeted. The CEO that day had to make a public release, but $1.3 billion in loss in one day because a 20-year-old girl who has no existence outside of social media, she has no job, whatever, social media, made a post on another social media site about another social media app, and the stock plummeted $1.3 billion. That's insane. But that is the culture we live in today. Am I right? That is the world we live in. And here we are, as a society, as mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, parents, teachers, administrators, law enforcement. How in the world are we going to interact in our society like that? Like, we have a lot of changes that have occurred. What does social media provide? What is it that social media is in the business of providing? You guys ever thought about that? Because you're not paying for Snapchat. You're not paying for Instagram. You're not paying for Facebook. You're not paying for Twitter. What does social media provide as a product? Advertising? There's actually a bigger product than that. News is one of them. Did you ever think that you're the product? Like, you're the product that social media is trying to collect and sell. Because at any given time on Facebook, there are 800 million users. In a database that has 800 million users, with all your likes, with all your posts, with all your GPS data, every time that occurs, guess what? Someone has an amazing database, one of the best databases in the world, of the movements and actions of Americans. Because the information you put into a social media site like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those things, the information may be going somewhere else. And just because you delete it off of Instagram doesn't mean it deletes off of this one. As a matter of fact, most of the time it doesn't. Just something about it. So that's an API, and I'll show you an example of one here in a little bit that's a little disturbing. It actually involves the school here. Like I actually zoomed in using another site that has an API built into Instagram. And I'll show you, we'll zoom right in. I just took some pictures for you guys of it, but you can see actual Instagram posts that took place in the school. Like I'm not on Instagram in this is a totally separate site, but I can see Instagram posts that were placed right here in the school system. Like recently, like today, like in yesterday. Like, here's so-and-so, and she's leaning up, doing this little action with her foot up, and she's kissing. He's the love of my life, and she's like 15. But that is an API. Okay, so what are some things you need to know about location services? So, I'm sorry, about social media. First thing you need to know is location services. I gave that away, didn't I? So raise your hand if you know what location services are. How many of you guys have looked through your phone to turn on or turn off location services? Okay. How many of you guys look through your kids' phones to do the same? Okay. Location services are this. There are two types of location services in the cellular network. Okay. So part of what we do for search and rescue relates to tracking phones and finding a person and that type of thing. A lot of times we have a lot of investigations where we will ping a cell phone, ping it, P-I-N-G, ping. Okay? So we'll send information, we'll have a carrier send information to try to find that phone. So the two types of location services are, one, you have through the cellular network. Okay? So I have a phone, I need to find another phone, I contact AT&T, I say, hey, tell me where this phone's at. AT&T says, hey, it is connecting to this tower located at this road, and it's 65 degrees off that tower, or sector 2 or whatever, and it's 3.5 miles that direction. So we have an idea that here's this tower, and this person's cell phone is this direction, 3.5 miles. That could include an entire neighborhood, right? That's a pretty big cone as far as area goes, okay? There's a second type of location services, and that comes from GPS satellites. Now, everyone's phone, if you have a smartphone, is the sheriff still here? Where's he at? He has a flip phone. Do you know that? He has a flip phone. I'm his IT director, and he has a flip phone. See, look, he's just pulling out, he's mocking me in the back. How many of you guys still have a flip phone? Okay? Who does not have a smartphone? Okay, whatever, put your hands down, I don't believe you. Not for nothing. Okay. So, modern smartphones also communicate with GPS satellites. And those GPS satellites triangulate down to a very, very small area. That information is stored on your phone. Social media apps go to that location and pull that location from the phone and transmit it up to the servers of social media. So for example, Facebook Messenger has location services built into it. If you don't turn off location services, Facebook Messenger will transmit that information out. And sometimes you don't want that information out, right? Instagram has location services built in. So you think you're in junior high and you're sitting in the band room and you go, da-da-da, and you post something out there, that's going to post, maybe, if you have location services on, your longitude and latitude. Remember the first method with the big cone? 3.5 miles, that's a big area, right? GPS can be like this big of an area. Exactly where you're at. So you're sitting in band and you're posting a picture. Well, maybe you're at home and you pull out Instagram and you post a picture, and when you do that, you take that picture and you're in the living room and the big screen TV's behind you, and you post that, and your longitude and latitude's out there, and you say, yeah, mom and dad are out of town for the weekend, and there's a big screen TV behind you, and the public can see that. But your Instagram's private, right? But didn't I just tell you about APIs? That information's being dumped out whether I'm a follower or not. That information is being pushed out to these other services. So you have to be aware of that stuff. So location services are one thing you have to be aware of in social media. What to keep in mind is that your children, and you of course, will encounter someone they've never met, may even communicate with someone they've never met. And kids, if you're hearing me, you don't need to trust them. A lot of times they have an agenda and you need to understand that. You may not know what the agenda is. And that's where it gets scary. So parents, how many of you guys look at the apps on your children's phones? Okay. How many of you guys have heard about a new app in the last 6 months you never even heard about before? Like, oh look, there's a new app today and here it is. Any experience with that? The thing about apps is they're coming and going so quick that our society is changing so quick with them. And our children, you guys are way ahead of us on following these apps and learning about them. So we have to start looking at our kids' phones. Sorry, guys. We have to look at your phones. Is that bad? Okay? Okay. How many of you guys have seen an app that does messaging or live streaming? Live streaming. Okay. So parents, how many of you guys have heard of this? Have you guys heard of apps that do live streaming? Raise your hand if you have. So FaceTime. So FaceTime is unique because FaceTime is one-to-one. So I can call you via FaceTime and you and we can video chat, right? That's one type of live streaming app. The type of apps I'm concerned about are a little different than that. They're one-to-many. What that means is you can jump online, you can download this app, and you can live stream to untold number of people. So parents, you want to pay attention to those type of apps, okay? So be talking to your kids like, what's that app doing? Like, why are you filming that? Or why is your camera on? Whatever. So start talking to your kids about those apps, okay? Ask questions about what the apps do. Because no matter what law enforcement we do, I could give you a list of all day long of apps that are good and bad, and that's not going to help any. Because tomorrow there's going to be 25 apps I've never heard of. They're going to do the same thing. They're something different or a different way or whatever, you know? So you're going to have to talk to them for sure. Okay, so one more, I'm going to jump off here and then I'm going to just leave you a few thoughts. I know there's a lot of talk in our society about social media and all that stuff. And then I have a lot of information just for takeaways, and I'll run through those here in just a second. There's a lot of talk in our society about social media. What we have to realize is that we have to begin to work as a team. Administration, schools, faculty, staff, parents, kids, law enforcement. We have to begin to work as a team because what social media is doing that's so very different than it's ever been done before is if I could roll the clock back and let's think about the ancient times, right? The ancient times, a road may be this wide. And we walk down this road and someone would walk toward me and I'd see them and I have to interact with them in a small area. There's no cars, there's no nothing. It's face to face. If this interaction doesn't go well, I'm going to know it quickly, right? Fast forward to the invention of the car, now we're in this metal box and we go down a road and we can crank up our music and the windows are closed. I don't have to interact with this person in this other lane. So there's a level, a progression of detachment, right? And maybe that first generation, they would go to the town squares and they'd interact that way. Well now, I can run to Walmart and I'll talk to anybody, run out and I'll talk to anybody, right? So there's a little more detachment there. One step further, we're over here social media. I don't have to talk to you at all. I can talk to you, but now there's no repercussions, we think. There's anonymity. I can say anything I want to that person that's harmful or damaging whatsoever at all. So we live in this world that we have shifted all the way from here to all the way to over here. And as humans, we have to team up. We have to team up all together, one team, to kind of look at what our society is doing with social media. Okay. A few quick takeaways real quick, and I'll have these if you guys want these handouts. And I'll run through some of the things real quick. Obviously, you have to pay attention to the phones, you have to pay attention to the apps, you have to pay attention to what your kids are doing. And kids, you guys have to talk too. Because believe it or not everyone you meet online is your friend at all. Check location services for sure. Ask yourself, does this app need to know where my child or loved one is at? Now, good location services are like Find My iPhone. Have you guys heard of Life 360? Raise your hand if you've heard of that. So this is what I'm learning about, but I've really heard some really good stuff about it. So a family can share location services and you can see where everyone's at. You can tag your house, and when someone arrives at home, you get an alert, hey, so-and-so is home. So Live 360 is a good one. One I like is Glimpse. Have you guys heard of Glimpse? So with a family, Life 360, you're always sharing your location. But let's say I want to share my location for a little bit with someone because they're going to meet me, we're going to meet at the mall or we're meeting at the fair somewhere. I can share my location for a little while and turn it off after a certain amount of time. That's called Glimpse, and it's Glympse. The reason I started researching that app was because of the individuals that had capsized in Lugal Lake. If they would have been able to share their location, I could have found them instantly because of the GPS tracking. On your social media, remove your information about your house. Remove the information about your work. People don't need to know that. Your friends probably already know it anyways, right? So remove that stuff. Also, if you're going to delete social media, this is a real big trick, okay? If you're going to delete social media, what should you do with your pictures on social media? Delete them, right? Wrong. So you want to get them off of there, but you have to replace them. This is a trick. So if you just go into your Facebook and you delete or deactivate Facebook, guess where your pictures still are? They're still in that account. And a lot of times, a lot of social media sees your pictures as valuable. They won't delete them. So what you want to do is you want to go into your social media accounts and replace them with fake pictures. So let's say I'm going to deactivate a Facebook account, right? Go in, go get some blank pictures off the internet, some stock pictures, like hey, maybe it's a puppy dog or a race car or whatever. Load those to your social media, make that your profile picture, delete your other pictures, then deactivate your account. Does that make sense? You can't always trust a server that was developed by someone else, social media, okay? Remove your phone numbers from social media. They don't need to have them. And a lot of times, social media will leak that information. There's a lot of hacks that occur where entire databases of social media will be dumped, including phone numbers and addresses and everything else. So get rid of your phone numbers off that stuff. They don't need your personal information, okay? Teach your kids how to recognize fake accounts. Pay attention to apps that allow messaging and live streaming. Pay attention to apps that have the ability to hide information like commonly known calculator app. Parents, do you guys know about apps that you can hide stuff? Raise your hand if you do. Okay, there are apps out there that you can use, you can download to hide information, pictures, files, documents, whatever, on a phone that looks like a calculator. That's a commonly known one, is the calculator. There's a slew of other apps like that. So what you may want to do is pay attention to the downloads on your kids' phones on their iTunes account or their Android Market account. Okay? And then remember, too, that just because your child doesn't have a phone doesn't mean this doesn't apply. How many of your kids have tablets but don't have a phone? How many of your kids have gaming consoles? Okay, so here's a question for the kids. How many of you guys have chatted with someone else online through your gaming console? You talk to someone online, whether a friend or whatever, through gaming console. So you have to pay attention to tablets, iPads, iPods, some of the newer iPods, obviously, the ones with the correct operating systems. Pay attention to all that stuff, because all those things can be used to download any type of social media stuff or interact with people online. What type of questions do you guys have? How many of you guys feel overwhelmed by social media?
Kind of going through it on this, kind of where if they get smart, they're turn that location service off.
Yes.
They're going to sneak out of the house, they're going to do something.
True.
I'll just turn that off real quick. And probably after the time we need.
Oh, absolutely.
How do you block that down?
So, go ahead.
If it's an Android phone, if the Google account is your Google account you give the password to, then they can't access, they can't make any changes, download any apps because you have the password to the Google account. So you can set up an email just for your child with if you know the password to it, don't let them know it, because once they know it, they're going to change it.
Yeah, but on the iPhone, it's just swipe.
Right. He's the iPhone, I'm the Android guy, he's the iPhone.
So, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, we were talking about something very similar to this, and they have a rule in their home that if anything of that nature occur, like deleted histories, deleted text messages, or deleted calls, deleted logs, anything like that, it's like a serious red flag for their kiddos, and they're like in hot water. Now, I will say this, something Coy and I learned on one of our search and rescues, the one specifically where we're doing Snapchat, is raise your hand. No, raise your hand. Think about this. If something were to occur today, right now, and the power grid were knocked out in Ulugal, how long is your phone going to stay charged right now? Can anyone's phone go 12 hours from right now? No. Most phones are dead pretty quick. So for example, location services, you're doing a search and rescue, and Coy and I encountered this, that individual's phone died partway through our search and rescue. So, and that is something very real to pay attention to, is if something does occur, your phones are probably not going to survive very long power-wise without it. So in the case of a kiddo sneaking out, they shouldn't be, their phone's probably not going to last more than 12 hours. And that's been an operating standard that Coy and I had adopted, that we have changed the way we do stuff, is because during a search and rescue, we know now immediately, if we have exigent circumstances, we're going to immediately go for location services as quick as we can. Because odds are, 8 hours in that search, that person's phone is going to die. So that's not a great answer for you. I think it's an honest answer. So, yes ma'am. Here you go.
You got a question? We're going to bring the mic to you because folks back here can't hear. Thank you.
So I was just wondering if someone could explain to the kiddos that are here, when you're talking about location services, you know, how they can be found by someone other than those that are good and looking for them. Can you talk about that with, you know, the Snapchat or she doesn't have very much, mine doesn't, but she's young too, but like Musically, or how the things that even the younger kids are using, how can someone find them with those kind of things so that they can be aware of that? I mean, kind of diving into more specific is kind of question I have, so that they can know how someone can locate them other than just the people that are good looking for them.
Yes, absolutely. Let me show you guys a picture. Can you guys kind of see that picture? That's a terrible picture, I apologize. You remember that program I was telling you that had the API connected to Instagram, right? Well, this is a picture from that program. And this is a map of the United States. You can kind of see there's Nebraska. And you can kind of see the red dots. Well, this actual program is tracking wildfires. This is a program, this is a website to track wildfires. But do you guys see that cluster of pictures right there? What does that icon look like? That's Instagram. This is not Instagram's site. This is a totally different site. Watch this. I'm going to zoom in some. And I took these pictures. I took this picture today from my iPad, so that's why it's kind of blurry. This is Tulsa. This is a neighborhood in Tulsa. These are all location services enabled Instagrams. Okay? So kids, keep watching. Ready? Do you guys recognize that town? That's Ulaga. So what that means is I can click on one of those icons, I can see the picture you posted, and if you posted it from your house, and the time, and the username, and what you labeled the picture as. Watch this, ready? Do you guys know where that's at? It's hard to tell. That's the school. So literally, there's a junior high girl in this map that she is posting to Instagram while at school. And she's putting her name, the information about the photograph, date and time are automatically all built into that program. That's not Instagram. Instagram, you think, is keeping you safe, right? Because you're not allowing someone to follow you. That tells me exactly where they're at. So what's scary about that is you think that you have privacy with those location services. I can click on one of those and tell what neighborhood those people live in. That's Tulsa. That's residential. Some of those pictures are people taking pictures at their house. This isn't like some super duper secret law enforcement website. Any one of you guys could access the site. Now, I won't give the information, but you can. And this is one of hundreds of sites like this. So another thing is like, let's say you take a picture and you send it via text message, right? So let's say your location service is on, and I'm going to send a picture to a person I met online in New York. And we're texting now because we're buddies, right? I took a picture of my iPhone, I sent it up there, they pulled the phone, oh, that's a cool picture, where's that at? Whatever. They can save that picture and look at their maps, and that may show up in their maps to show exactly where your house is at. So we don't realize that sometimes you may be exposing your whole family, your brothers and sisters, and your parents to something that's dangerous. Oh, like that big screen TV, because do we have criminals in Rogers County that look at things like that? We do, right? Oh, yeah. Sharing you're going on vacation. How many of you guys post that you're going on vacation, right? You never.
Or post pictures like on the beach.
Yeah. So if you're going to post photographs of you out of town, or you're going to tag someone that you're on a vacation at some beach somewhere, do it after the fact. You get home, you're already home back home, everything is good, then you can tag your photos and throw them out there. Otherwise, don't put them on social media until afterwards. Does that kind of answer your question? Also realize...
About Snapchat, and Snapchat is real-time location. So if your child is walking down the street, it's going to show them walking down the street. So with that being said, if you got a kindergartner, a real young child, they know the name, they can link it to Facebook and know the parent's name. They can find this child right where they're walking, identify themselves as an aunt or someone that this child may not be too familiar with, and give your name, their brother or sister's name, so they've been in a car wreck, this or that. Pick that kid up to believe, the kids will believe it because they're saying my mom's name, my brother's name, and pick them up and take them, so I'll take you to the hospital, and they're gone. Because Snapchat is real-time location, whether it's iPhone, Android, doesn't matter, it'll show real-time data where you're at if it's turned on.
And one of the things that we encounter at the sheriff's office is this, is you really assume your social media accounts are locked down. We spend a lot of time scraping right through those. Like we're not doing anything where we have to have a search warrant or nothing. It's all public. It's just out there. And there are sites out there that I can go to that I can automate and go look at your Facebook and just scrape stuff right off there. Oh, it's all locked down, Nathan. No, it's actually not. Because your friends isn't locked down and they tagged you or they liked you or they did something or whatever. I can a lot of times, even though your friends are hidden, we can find out a good chunk of your friends just by doing some methods like that. So location service is another thing you need to know about pictures is pictures will have longitude and latitude built into them if location services are turned on in the app that the picture was taken in. Okay? And that's the very precise location. Other questions? Yes, sir. And please know, I don't know anything about social media. This is like the tip of the iceberg. There's so much stuff to learn, and we're constantly trying to keep up on top of this. Yes, sir.
Okay, so like today, I was just kind of browsing through, and I was seeing where people are accessing your phone via text also. So like if you reply back, a lot of these like American Idol, you text, vote yes to 10, whatever. So they're setting up these programs like text hi to 1031, well they have full access to your phone. So they can block, like if you try to call 911, if it gets creepy or something like that, they can block you from calling 911 even. Have y'all seen anything like that or aware of it? Or
I haven't dealt with that directly where 911's being blocked, but obviously we're seeing a huge uptick in spam. Have you guys received spam via text yet? I'm seeing that occur. So I do know that there's something going on at the international or at the national level with regard to carriers, because in order to send a text message, you have to have permission and you have to have a server that's approved to send a text message. It's like, let's say I'm going to create a program at the sheriff's office, right? We're going to send a text message to whoever from the sheriff's office computers. I have to have a server approved by a national organization to allow that. What's happening is I'm seeing a whole uptick in bypassing all those standards. So I think something is going on with regard to texting for sure. And now the other thing about texting is that we're also seeing different types of data come through. Can I talk like a hacker for a second? You guys okay with that? Okay. So does anyone remember when Twitter increased the number of letters you could send? Remember that? It was like a big deal. I'm sure the Kardashians had a party. Like, yeah, hey, we can do more than so many characters in a tweet, right? So here's how that translated in the hacker world. So let's say I've infected 100 computers. Okay? I wrote a virus that spread to 100 computers. Those 100 computers actually go watch a Twitter account. Okay? And I can post a command on that Twitter account to all those computers, and those computers will then do what I want them to do. It's called a botnet. Okay? A bot. So what can happen at that point is Twitter says, hey, let's increase the space and number of characters, right? So what happens? Now I can actually upload an entire program, and they can upload entire programs out to other computers. So that's how the digital world has changed from Twitter and even texting. So texting has the ability to do data now. You guys remember the iPhone hack a while back that came out? You could send a weird set of characters to a friend that would restart their phone. You guys remember that? It's been some time back, but that was a hack that occurred because the data allows a lot more stuff to go through. That's just me talking like a hacker, so I'll kind of back off that subject before you glaze over. But I like that type of topic. Other questions? Yes.
My family's saying, don't take the microphone.
What did you say?
My family's all saying, don't talk on the microphone. I was just wondering, obviously with the news lately and the school shooting, with our kids, we were trying to talk about that a little bit. If they see threats on social media, what's our protocol there for them? Like, who do we call? Who's going to be the most, like, how does that work, process?
So let me speak on behalf of the sheriff's office and the sheriff for a second in this exact context. Scott and I were talking about this today, actually. We've talked about this several times. One, we don't take threats lightly at all, for sure. And kids, guys and gals, please know that if something like that occurs, like where there's a threat of something occurring, we have to treat every one of those as serious. If it's a fake threat, we end up taking experts off the street, pursuing other crimes that are, their life is at risk, so that we can chase down something that's fake, okay? And in the sheriff's office, we don't have a choice but to prosecute fake stuff like that if we have to, okay? And then each one of those is a case by case, and that's investigators and sheriff and leadership in that exact context is involved. But for sure, we have to communicate, for sure. We have to be communicating what's going on. So kids, if you guys are seeing stuff, you have to talk to your parents, you have to talk to your teachers, and those threats have to be dealt with very realistically, okay? They have to be assessed, and there probably have to be conversations that occur. Now, if it's a really viable threat, man, you need to communicate for sure, okay? And I'm not asking you to try to assess every threat. That's not what I mean. But you definitely have to talk about it. Parents and kids, you have to talk about it, okay? What's that?
When a threat comes out, you have to report it. I mean, whether that happens at school, they tell a teacher, if your child sees that, they need to report it to an adult and make sure that law enforcement is contacted. There's been situations where, here recently, that we found a threat that happened 2 years ago. It was just brought to our attention because the student did not feel it was serious, and it sure enough was. So it needs to be reported as soon as possible to law enforcement, whether the school does it or the parent, it needs to be reported.
And speaking of this, here's a great resource for this. How many of you guys know this gentleman right here? Raise your hand. How many of you guys have had fun conversations with this gentleman?
How many have had not fun conversations with me? A couple of you, okay. So for the parents that don't know, I'm Officer Roden. I'm the school resource officer. I'm an Oologah police officer. I'm assigned to the school. I spend 98% of my time right here on this campus. If your child or yourself run across some kind of a threat, you hear the threat, I don't care how small it is, okay? If it doesn't sound right, report it, okay? If you don't know how to contact me, contact the school, contact any of the administrators, any of the principals. They all have my number, okay? And we'll be on top of it, right now, okay? That's something we take very seriously. We've done some investigation on that. Things are taken care of promptly, okay? My goal here, my job here is to protect these students. That's why I'm here, okay? My law enforcement, to be honest, there's not that much to do as far as enforcing law here. My primary objective is to protect the students. So please don't hesitate to report anything you hear like that.
Can I say something on that?
Absolutely.
In light of the most recent Florida shooting, I can tell you that in law enforcement and in the dealings that we're having with social media, we are probably what I would call in a fluid situation. We're seeing a lot of dynamics, and I know those of you that are here today realizing the media attention, how frustrating it is for everybody, parents, law enforcement officers, students, everybody. But one of the things that we are telling everyone is, if you see a threat on social media, the incorrect thing to do would be to pass that threat on. We want you to report it. We don't need it being passed through social media from one person to another. That's real important as we move forward.
Kiddos, for a second. Something I think I would want you guys to understand is that your words have power. Does that make sense? Like what you say is very, very powerful. And just the simple act of kindness, like having a kind heart towards your classmates, can change everything. Is that clear? Parents, would you guys agree with that? Yes. Okay. Other questions you guys have?
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
If you turn your location services off on your phone in general, are the app locations still on? App locations, like Instagram, Snapchat, are they still on?
So when it comes to location services, you can turn all location services off or on one time for the entire phone, or the better way to do it is actually to go through each individual app. There's a section in the phone that you can go and say, okay, this app yes, this app no, while using, never. There's some of those options. I would recommend going through the phone through each individual app, because let's say you're using Life360, which uses location services to keep track of your family. You want that on. You're using Find My iPhone, you want that on. You don't want Instagram on. You know what I mean? So you want to go individual, case by case. Yes, ma'am. Here you go.
So if you were going to tell your child the most important thing you could tell them from this whole applications, location services, what is the one most important key, whatever you would tell your child to make sure they understand?
I think I tell them to look through their phone. Randomly. I'm gonna look through their phone randomly. I mean, you know, kids are smart these days, they know how to hide stuff. And if your kid knows that you randomly go through their phone, I mean, it's pretty basic. I mean, I'm not a hacker. I'm not into the geek stuff and all he does. You know, he provides me good information. I use that, but I don't know half of what he does. But it's pretty rudimentary. Talk to your children. Have those awkward conversations, and go through their phone. It's as simple as that. Go through their phone, look through it, do it random, and spot check their phones, because that's what it comes down to. You never know who they're talking to. You don't know who who's trying to talk to them. That maybe they're trying to avoid them. They're trying to do the right thing, but yet this person's after them. Go through their phone and look through it. It's as simple as that. I mean, I don't understand the hacker stuff, but I can go through my kid's phone and read messages. I can see what things they've downloaded, and I can look at those things.
And
We're doing a little tag team in here, but that's a good point. The other thing that I want to remind everybody, you're an adult. They're a child. There are consequences. There's consequences on them having a car. There's consequences on them owning a phone. I know I've got a 15-year-old son, and sometimes we deal with those things. I provide that phone for him. I will decide when and where he uses it. It's real important to remember that as well.
Parents absolutely have to be involved 100% to answer that question, partly. But I also realize a struggle is that sometimes not all parents are involved. So you're going to have kids come to your house that their parents aren't involved too. So you absolutely have to talk. You absolutely have to talk to your kids. Be talking regularly, asking questions, having open lines of communication with them, asking them what's bothering them, asking them what's going on in school. Because what Wes may notice as a dad may be relevant to what Coy is going through as a dad. And it may be exactly what Coy's son's going through. There may be some lingo there. Like there's a new Finstagram, which means fake Instagram. Come on now. You know what I mean? There's new words all the time, so it's got to be the talking for sure. Any other questions?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, have a question. You're talking about these APIs, and this is, you didn't really touch on the email, but I'm wondering if there's a correlation with the emails and the apps where they're somehow transferring information to each other without you even knowing it. The reason why I ask that is because my wife was actually filling out a login and put in her email address and with IKEA, and it actually popped up on my phone through my email address, and I was just in the vicinity completely. She didn't give my email address or anything, and I've actually seen that happen in the past with web browsers as well, where I would be surfing something on a web browser, and then I would go to my tablet, and all of a sudden in my history, it would show what I searched on, it's a completely different thing. And that, I'm wondering if that might be happening with apps.
That is absolutely the case. So for example, did you guys know if you log into the same browser with 2 different Facebook accounts, it will connect your friends? You can have 2 Facebook accounts, have no common friends. You log into the same browser, Facebook is going to recognize that you logged into that computer, and so did this person. For example, a library, right? It's going to look for common friends between those 2 because Facebook recognizes that you're at the same IP address. Facebook also recognizes that if you have the Amazon app, which I like Amazon, I like to buy stuff, I like to buy books off there, guess what shows up on my Facebook? Totally unconnected. So there's definitely some behind the scenes marketing stuff going on with email addresses, with apps, with purchases, with things of that nature. So the answer to your question is absolutely stuff is going on.
On that, if you don't mind, if that's the case with these apps, with our children's apps, is there a possibility that their information could just be transferred to another person's app without them even knowing it? Or how they had those commercials where people could put their phones together and their information would go right to the phone?
So putting the hacker hat back on, okay? The answer is absolutely. Your data is not secure. Equifax, right? Supposedly 140 million individuals' credit histories was leaked during the Equifax. I promise you Equifax's database is more than 140 million. I'm going to call BS on that, pardon the language. Sorry, kids. But the thing is you're absolutely right. Your data is not secure. So the less data you have out there, the more secure you are. So yes, whether it be an app, through email, through different email programs, through a phone, through browsers, through that stuff, the less the better for sure. Hey guys, do you guys know Scott? So this is Scott. He thinks he's my boss. I don't know. Scott is our sheriff of the county. So he spends a lot of hours and a lot of time helping make all of us safe and make our county a safer, better place. He also wears a lot of burden and a lot of responsibility that I am not jealous of. So at 3 o'clock in the morning when something's going on, I got to call him.
I just want to finish up. Are we done with questions, or I know we tried to honor our time commitment here.
I don't need a microphone. I'm pretty loud. This is just something that I learned as a parent. Having a conversation with my husband and my mother-in-law, we're talking about things, blah, 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 not searching it, not on Facebook, not on anything. Several hours later, got on Facebook, and what I had been talking about popped up on my Facebook. I learned that there's a microphone on your phone, and if you don't turn it off, they're listening to everything you say.
That's the rumors I'm hearing too, by the way. And that's the reports that I'm reading related to Facebook, related to phones, related to Alexa. And some of those is absolutely true. I hate to say that we live in this conspiracy theory society, but it's true.
In summary, I just want to thank everybody for coming. I got so many people to thank. Don, event coordinators and everything, volunteers and youth, and people that help us through all of these things. Thank you so much. Thank you for Ooltewah School for opening up a nice facility here. And thanks for everybody for listening. I bet you nobody learned more than I did tonight. I talked to Nate in little bitty bits and pieces throughout the day. I was anxious to hear his whole presentation. He certainly knows that he talks to me about technology. He has to dumb it down to a sub-elementary level that I can maybe get some remote idea. So I do ask him a lot of stupid questions, but I just think maybe I'm a good bad example of, you know, were I to have a young child in school right now. They could run game over my head like nobody's business. So I think it's just an awareness there. I appreciate the comment that Coy made. Please keep in mind our roles as parents. You don't know how many times we've been in our own situations, and a parent will tell us, of a sexting deal or something that's going on involving a phone and things, and the first thing you're thinking of is, okay, let's be a parent, let's take control of this situation and everything. And we hear a comment that if we do that, she'll run away. If we do that, worse yet, they threaten to commit suicide. These things are ours to manage as parents. I can't help you with all of those things, but I know the danger of this is what scares me to death. As far as I know, the biggest tragedy we can say digitally that we had in Rogers County was a suicide. And it was just through images that got shot out, and somebody's assumption that their life was over with at such an early age. And I don't know how you could spell tragedy any louder than that. But I'll shut up. I just want to thank everybody out here tonight that had a part in this. Nate, I think you did a great job. And this is a start. We've got a lot of focus on schools right now and a few people to do it. And the best example that happens here tonight is teachers, parents, students. When we all come together to help law enforcement, that's the only way we can get the whole deal done. We need the eyes and the ears. We need the businesses in the community, the people that live and work here to help us combat a problem. It's all of our problems. So thank you very much. God bless y'all.
I just wanted to touch base a little bit. Yes, I thank everybody that came out tonight. For those of you that may not know me, I'm Melissa Gibson. I'm the middle school counselor, and it's shocking what I hear on a weekly basis. And I'm a parent myself, and so I went to Kelly in the fall and I said, Kelly, we have so many parents that have no clue what their children are doing, and it's scary. It scares me. I'm a parent. I have a 7-year-old, and I can remember 2 years ago when she said, Mama, let's vlog our family. And I said, Hayden, there aren't vlogs. That's not even a word. And then I found out it is. It's a video blog. And so I have a 7-year-old that she wants to be a YouTube star. It is our world. It's what's happening. Obviously, she's not. I don't allow that to happen. But it is their world. And I want you guys to know it is happening in Oologah. I talk with my students, and they come in and they will cry and they will say, Miss Gibson, I had a friend that committed suicide last week. And I'm like, really? What happened? I'm thinking in the back of my mind, why have I not heard about this? Is it Collinsville? Is it Claremore? And they'll say, well, she lives in Minnesota. I've never really met her before, but we talk online all the time. And I think, this is so serious. These kids are literally drawn, and they think that they are friends with these people that they've met online. And you can ask your kids, when you go home tonight, you can say, who's this friend? You don't recognize her name. Well, I met her at church camp, and she met her at church camp, and then we ran track this one time, and then we were over here, and her grandma was with my grandma, and that's how we became friends. And so our kids are talking with people daily that they have never physically met in person. I have kids that come in and they cry and they say, she's mad at me. She's not my friend anymore, Miss Gibson. Well, how'd you meet her? Well, we met online. We're friends because we talk, we message. We've had incidents, poor Mr. Despain one day, he's got a kid in ISD and the kid's blowing up his email because he's worried and he can't focus in ISD because his girlfriend is in trouble. Her dad is selling drugs and they're gonna lose their house and what's gonna happen, and Mr. Despain's like, what, who, what's the name? And he gets on and Googles, and it's a 54-year-old woman that lives way up north, out of state. And our students have no clue. And this is what I want you guys to know as parents, that we see it. I'm a parent myself. I don't want to be naive, but it is here. It's in our world. Our kids deal with it every day. And so exactly what they said, communicate. You cannot communicate enough with your children. And you can't be too nosy. As a parent, we can't be too nosy. At the middle school level, I get a lot of, well, I can't be friends with that person anymore because her mom reads all her text. I will read my child's text as long as I want to because I do want to know what's happening in her world. That happens. They break up as friends because this mom's checking her text and this mom's not checking their text, and I don't want your mom to know what I'm doing. Something we've just learned. I know all my students are out there going, Miss Gibson, I'm not liking you right now. You're telling my parents a lot of stuff that I don't want them knowing about our world right now. One thing we've just learned is he said the Finstagram, Our students have, if they have Snapchat, they have more than one Snapchat account. Because they have one Snapchat account that you as parents, they want you to be a part of, and then they've got a fake Snapchat account that they don't want you to know about. And that's where a lot of conversations that you as parents, they don't want you to know about. The calculator app that's out there, it looks just like the calculator that comes on the iPhone, and the students have their own passcode, so when they grab it, they can put in numbers that you don't know, and it's actually a passcode, and when that opens, there are hidden pictures behind that calculator form. So it's out there, and it's just like Nathan said, we could give you a list of them. It changes every day. I heard one last week, that's a new one. I relate it back to when we were in high school and you had this actual piece of paper and a journal and it was spiral, and you passed it around and you wrote something really mean about people and you didn't sign your name. There are apps out there that our kids are on, and they are saying mean things about each other in this district, and it's sad. Kids come in my office and they bawl their eyes out because someone has said this about them, and it's pitiful. It's pitiful to be on the other end of that and to go, well, do my best to stop that, but everybody's already seen it, so we're going to work on that. You know, you have to reassure those kids, and so I just cannot speak on this enough. I want for you guys to understand that it is real. We face it as administrators every day. When he said, who wants to burn Snapchat down, I will be at the front of that line. I can promise you that. I know there's good that is supposed to come from all of this, from social media and all of the different apps, but there's a lot of bad that goes on, and especially when you put it in the hands of young people that don't know how to use them. So again, I thank all of you guys for coming. I thank all of our law enforcement. Dawn Holland, if you'll stand, she's from Rogers County Youth Coalition, and she came in one day and she said, what can we do for Oologah Public Schools? And I said, oh my gosh, I just told my boss that I want to have a big parent night, and I want it to address social media, because I want our parents to know what is out there, because I, as a parent, again, I want to know what's out there, because I don't want to be blindsided at all when it comes to something bad. I don't want that to happen. So Nathan had talked about possibly teaming up with us and posting stuff to like our website, just some information for you guys too. They have some handouts, so Dawn, do you want to walk back to back and you can hand out as they're going? This is Dawn Martinez. She's one of our high school counselors, and she's here tonight helping, and I know that she probably sees. I was in her office the other day at parent-teacher conferences, and she had her little flyer like, are you coming to this? You better be coming to this. Are you coming to this? You better be coming to this. Because we just know, we see it, and I know there's a lot of good that can come from it, but there's a lot of negative too, and I want for you guys to be aware. Don't hesitate to call my office. At the middle school, we have an open door policy. I can tell you Mr. Despain, Mr. Dixon, and myself love to talk to parents. We want to be aware too. We want to know what's out there and what's happening. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to call, email, or stop by.